Have you ever stopped to think about how all the stuff you buy gets to you? I mean, it's mind-bogglingly complex. You've got these massive, chaotic warehouses. But what if I told you there's a way to crack the code, to see the hidden patterns in all that motion? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to become data detectives and really demystify this whole world.
So to kick off our investigation, we need a central question, right? A mystery to solve. And here it is. In a warehouse that's packed with tens of thousands of different things, which single one is the most important? Is it the one that sells the most expensive one, the biggest one? What do you think?
I'm going to bet the answer is not what you're guessing right now. And here's the cool part. When we uncover it, it reveals this powerful secret, a whole new way of thinking that you can use to understand pretty much any complex system, way beyond the four walls of a warehouse. So, our investigation starts by realizing that a warehouse isn't just a place full of boxes, it's a place full of questions. And to get the right answers, we're going to need the right tool. And this is our tool. It's called Warehouse Activity Profiling. Seriously, think of it like forensics for logistics. This is not about gut feelings or what we think is happening. It's all about carefully measuring and analyzing the cold, hard data to see what's actually making everything tick. So where do we aim this new detective tool of ours first? We're going to start by taking a close look at a really common assumption, what I like to call the myth of the bestseller. You've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Pareto's principle. In a warehouse, the idea is that a small number of items, or SKUs, that's just a fancy term for a unique product code, say 20% of them, are responsible for 80% of everything that happens. It's a decent starting point for sure, but it hides a really crucial detail. What do we actually mean by activity? Okay, this right here is the absolute key. Most people hear activity and they immediately think sales, a financial perspective. But if you want a warehouse to run like a well-oiled machine, you need an operational perspective. We don't really care what makes the most money. We care what's eating up our most precious resources. Labor, time, space. The real question isn't what's our best seller, it's what's creating the most work. And this is where our investigation gets really fun. We're going to look at some actual data from a national drugstore's distribution center. We'll ask 3 different operational questions, and I promise you, we're going to get 3 shockingly different answers.
First up, let's ask, what makes the most work for the people unloading the trucks and stocking the big shelves? This is all measured in the number of cases they have to physically move. And the answer is SlimFast. Who knew? Because it moves in a huge volume of cases, it's the #1 item from this point of view.
Okay, perspective number 2. Now let's ask, what creates the most work for the person who's actually walking up and down the aisles picking items for an order? This is measured by picks, how many separate times somebody has to grab an item. And would you look at that? The most important item is now microwave popcorn. It shows up on more individual orders than anything else, which means pickers are constantly walking back to that same spot.
And for our last clue, let's ask, what creates the most work for the cashier at the actual store? This is measured by the pure number of individual pieces sold, and the answer changes again big time. Now, the most important item is baseball cards, and it's not even close.
So let's just let that sink in. SlimFast, microwave popcorn, and baseball cards. 3 completely different, most important items, all from the same warehouse over the same period of time. This proves the point perfectly. There is no single most important item. The answer, the truth, depends entirely on the question you ask.
Now, this way of thinking, it doesn't just help us find the top items. It actually reveals all these other surprising patterns in how the warehouse really works. Now that we know how to ask different questions, let's see what else we can uncover.
For instance, check this out. Let's look at the orders themselves. This chart shows us that about 2/3 of all customer orders are for just a single item. But get this, they only account for about 1/3 of the total picking work. What that tells managers is that you've got this huge number of tiny, simple orders that could probably be handled way more efficiently than the big, complicated ones.
Activity profiling also lets us see the rhythm of a warehouse over time. It helps us find the hidden pulse of demand, what we call seasonality.
Some of these seasonal patterns are, pretty predictable. Take AA batteries. For 11 months, demand is just chugging along, but then it nearly doubles in December. And you can probably guess why. All those new toys and gadgets from the holidays need juice. It's a pattern you can practically set your watch to.
But other patterns are way less obvious, and they kind of challenge what we think we know. You might guess that big screen TVs sell most on Black Friday, right? But the data shows the real peak is in the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. That's when everyone decides they need a better view of the big game.
And the data just tells all these fascinating stories about us. Avocado sales spike for Cinco de Mayo and Super Bowl Sunday. Even dog food sales get a small but totally reliable bump during the December holidays. Tuxedo rentals, a massive spike for proms in May and weddings in June. The data is basically telling the story of our lives.
So, after all this detective work, what have we learned? We've learned that by asking the right questions, we can take a system that seems impossibly complex and messy and turn it into a set of clear, actionable insights.
And here's the toolkit we used. It's actually pretty simple. First, we analyze the items themselves from different angles, cases, picks, and pieces. Then, we analyze the customer orders to see how people actually buy. And finally, we looked at everything over time to find those seasonal rhythms. This simple framework, that's the key to cracking the code.
So the next time you're facing some complex problem, I don't know, managing a project at work, your personal finances, even just your own weekly schedule, remember the warehouse and ask yourself, am I asking the right question? Because changing your perspective, well, it might just reveal a completely different and way more useful answer.